Hi, my name is Gabriela and I'm the communications lead at 11-Bit Studios. I'm here to guide you through your very first steps into the world of Frostpunk 2. We know the game is challenging, but at the end of this video, you should have a solid understanding of your basic resource handling, the city's societal, technological and economical structures, as well as various in-game mechanics. Frostpunk 2 is a unique blend of city building, survival and society management. And regardless whether you played Frostpunk or not, we made sure this is both an exciting and enjoyable experience for newcomers and fans alike. So, let's jump right into it. As you can see, the start screen has both the Utopia Builder and Story mode. Utopia Builder is our version of the sandbox mode. There are 7 different locations to choose from, which vary in map sizes and randomized access to different resources. We highly encourage you to first go through the Story mode before you venture into the Utopia Builder though. Let's do just that ourselves. 30 years have passed since Frostpunk's story ended, and it's immediately clear from the upper UI that the scale of the game has changed dramatically. Here we have various resources and, starting from the left, you can see that at the beginning of the game, your population is already in thousands. And looking a bit below, you can see you are no longer operating in hours and days, but days that turn into weeks and months. Moving further, we have heat stamps. This is the currency used in the city, prefabs, which are building components that we can later use in construction, and cores, which are required for advanced buildings and generator upgrades. Many things have changed since the first game, but one thing remains the same. We desperately need heat. To be ready for temperature changes, keep an eye on the weather timeline located in the top right of your screen. Temperature changes are represented by thermometer icons. Right now, we are at -20 Celsius, which is -4 Fahrenheit. Besides temperature changes, be aware of whiteouts. Those are weather anomalies that bring various hazards that will severely affect different aspects of the city's economy. They have their own icon visible on the timeline. Unlike temperature changes that affect the entire Frostland, whiteouts move with the winds and only affect locations directly below them. More on that in the district's management part of the guide. The primary source of heat in the city is the generator. Let's look at what our current situation looks like. Okay, so it looks like the generator is currently disabled, which makes the heat demand unfulfilled. The generator creates heat by consuming fuel to distribute heat throughout the city. Initially, your main source of fuel is coal, and we currently have 120 available. Later in the game, you can research and discover different types of fuel, which vary in how much heat they provide. The most efficient one is used first, when many fuel types are available. The generator uses as much available fuel as is needed to fulfill heat demand in the city. Let's launch the generator. The vertical indicator on the left shows how much heat demand is fulfilled, the gray color. If there were any unfulfilled demands, it would be in red. In the case of heat surplus, a golden color will appear. Moving forward to the right side of the upper UI panel, we have our city's needs: shelter, food, materials, and goods. A city's economy is based on the output and demand of those resources. Output is the sum of resources produced by districts and buildings. For example, our food output is currently at 70, and the demand is a bit higher. You can see it marked in red. It can be increased by building food districts, which will solve your output problem. However, it will also increase the demand for heat and materials. If demand is not fully met, problems in your city will arise. Let's look at what type of city problems you will encounter in the game. Cold comes from a lack of fuel in the generator and a lack of shelter, same as disease. Hunger arises when you lack food, while squalor gradually increases when you don't have enough materials to satisfy the demand for the maintenance of the city. In a similar fashion, crime increases when there are not enough goods. All of the mentioned problems negatively impact your people, festering diseases or even causing significant citizen deaths. They also affect the city itself, damaging districts that deteriorate due to the cold. For a while, A city can survive without satisfying all the demands, but eventually it will increase tension to a boiling point, which may lead to your downfall. So, let's talk about tension, located at the very middle of the bottom of the screen. Tension shows you how agitated and anxious people in the city are. It reflects the overall situation in the city, so the best way to fight it is to improve it. Decrease problems like cold or disease, or take care of your citizens' problems and needs. Albeit more complex, all that we've discussed so far resembles what you've battled against in the first game. Now, the big difference introduced in the sequel is that nature is not your biggest enemy, but human nature. Your power is no longer absolute. Political maneuvering is just as crucial for the city's survival, if not more so. Citizens of New London form various communities and factions, which you will have to take into account while governing the city. Communities are groups of people united by a common outlook and background, for example, New Londoners. Factions originate from communities, like in this case stalwarts, but are more radicalized, better organized, and will actively seek to implement their ideology in all aspects of the city. Be sure to inspect and familiarize yourself with communities and factions that appear in your city by clicking on their portrait at the bottom of the screen. The factions might have a rally to show support if they trust you enough, or organize a protest to force your hand if their trust in you is low. Notice how the game environment changes when that happens. Everything gets darker and the music gets much more tense. There are many ways to win your citizens' trust, which you can monitor at the bottom of the screen. The trust consists of your relations with all communities and factions, which are influenced by your actions towards them and the fulfillment of your promises. You can sway individual factions and communities your way by using various community actions in their corresponding community panel. You won't be able to please everyone, but make sure that you have more supporters than enemies and try to keep the rest in check. Otherwise, overall trust may drop to such a low level that you will be deposed and the game will end. Your relations with communities and factions depend on the direction of the city, that is called Zeitgeist, and how it aligns with their worldview. Zeitgeist means spirit of time and describes the direction of your city on three axes: technology, which can either go towards progress or adaptation, economy, which is merit or equality based, and society, which favors tradition or reason. Everything you construct, research, or vote on influences your relationships with your citizens. So, let's dive deeper into those three areas one by one, and let's start with expanding the city. Initially, you can only build districts in a limited area. The wider terrain is covered in frozen stiff ground, which is impossible to construct upon. To widen the buildable area, you will need to use Frostbreakers. You can send out Frostbreaking teams by clicking on the Frostbreaking button located in the bottom right of the screen. Then, find your way towards the edges of the buildable area and click on white tiles, which turn yellow when marked, until the indicator circle is full. After that, click on the checkmark to confirm and start the construction, or use right mouse button to cancel your last choice. Frostbreaking cost is fixed and, unless there are no more tiles to click, the amount of tiles needed to begin frostbreaking is always the same. Districts are the base of your city's economy. Build them to produce or process resources, provide shelter, or recruit frostland teams. To build districts on resource deposits covered by frozen stiff ground, you will have to first frostbreak those tiles. Districts, similarly to frostbreaking, have a fixed number of tiles needed to begin construction. Extraction, food, and logistics districts require resource deposits to be built. You need to begin selecting tiles from the highlighted resource deposit with a corresponding resource icon. For example, to build a food district, start from the tile with a food deposit. Pay attention to where you construct districts, as area effects may give them additional positive or negative effects. Area effects are caused by environmental circumstances, the natural layout of the land, or surface on which a district is constructed, or by proximity to other districts. Area effects are applied when at least 3 district tiles are located within it. While constructing any district, a tooltip will indicate whether you currently build has any area effects applied. 1 dot represents 1 tile under its influence, When all dots are filled, the effect will be applied to the district. For example, it's good to place housing districts near other housing districts to benefit from more efficient heating. On the other hand, it's better to avoid building food districts near industrial or extraction districts, since toxic air from the extraction work will negatively affect these districts, increasing disease. Districts have their requirements represented in resources, workforce, or both. If those are not fulfilled, the district will cease to function and will become disabled. Even if you have everything under control, you cannot control the weather. When whiteouts occur, they will disable all districts. It is advised to stockpile resources to be prepared for whiteouts, as they can affect your city to a degree from which it will be very difficult to recover. On the other hand, districts also have their demand. This amount contributes to your overall demand in the city, meaning that if it's not fulfilled, it will increase your city's problems, like cold or squalor, but it will not affect the district's output. The district will work the same as long as its requirements are fulfilled. District employment can be manually controlled in any district panel. By selecting a percentage value, you can scale all operations in a district. This adjustment will reduce the required workforce and resources requirement, but also result in lower output. If full employment cannot be selected in the district, it means there is not enough available workforce in your city. To address this, you need to either reduce employment in other districts or increase the workforce. It's worth noting that demolishing a building or district will let you retrieve prefabs used for its construction. We've also implemented a feature that was highly requested by the Frostpunk community, which was to be able to get a closer look at the citizens. So now, clicking on the magnifying glass will allow you to zoom in on the district and see your citizens hard at work. Okay, back to construction. Another thing you can do is to expand your district to increase their scale, both in terms of size and capabilities. Expanded districts are more efficient and provide additional building slots, which I will touch upon in a second. Note that if there are not enough adjacent tiles to select, the district cannot be expanded. Be mindful that housing districts have no building slots upon construction, contrary to all other types of districts. That is why you need to expand such a district at least once to be able to construct any buildings inside it. You can construct buildings in districts if there is an empty building slot available inside them. Buildings also have their requirements, demand, and output, which are added to the already existing economy of a district. They can improve base output of a district, for example, provide more food, or reduce problems directly, squalor or crime. Initially, you don't have many buildings available for construction. However, the Research Institute is a building that is always available from the very beginning of the game. It provides you with access to the idea tree, where new ideas and solutions can be researched. However, different communities may propose diverging answers to the same issue. You need to decide which community will research a specific topic, resulting in an outcome tailored to that community. Choosing a community to research an idea will improve your relations with them. You may also research certain ideas that will lower the tension by addressing city problems, such as squalor or disease. The amount of time needed for research may be reduced by building more research institutes. Each institute will increase research speed. You can also temporarily accelerate research by using the action Rush Researchers. Everything comes at a price though, as this action will negatively affect trust. Another very important building that introduces a completely new mechanic in Frostpunk 2 is the Council Hall.
Steward.
It is where delegates from different factions and communities vote for laws, which can greatly impact a city and affect its zeitgeist. For convenience, they were grouped into 4 areas: survival, city, society, and rule. You can propose laws, but they have to be voted in favor by the majority to take effect. Let's propose the Community Service Law. Communities and factions will fight for or against different laws depending on their views. You can learn more about them by clicking the Communities and Factions icons in the Council view. There are a few different methods to affect how delegates vote for a specific law in the Council. You can utilize these methods after proposing a law. Not all laws you propose will have widespread support, so what you can and should do is negotiate in order to have a better chance of the vote passing. After choosing a group to negotiate with, you can choose what to promise them in exchange for voting along with your proposal. That includes actions such as enacting a law they desire, building or destroying a special building, or using an action toward a particular community or faction. Making a promise in negotiations will make all hesitant delegates in the chosen community vote for the proposed law. Additionally, some delegates who are against the law will also switch sides. The same logic applies if you want them to vote against the law. Factions, contrary to communities, are more monolithic and will not engage in negotiations about laws that are against their worldview.
The delegates have spoken. The law takes effect.
Even if you manage to run your city flawlessly, at some point you will simply run out of resources. To prevent that from happening, you need to venture into the Frostland. To discover locations of interest and resources you can harvest for the benefit of your city, you need to launch expeditions of Frostland teams, which are sourced from the logistics districts. You can select territories to explore by clicking on their names. Territories have 4 different difficulties that affect the cost, time, and threat level of their exploration: open, rugged, challenging, and blocked. Threat level of a territory signifies whether there will be any consequences to sending people to explore that area, resulting in either injuries or even deaths. Threat level, as well as duration or cost of exploration, can be reduced by researching new exploration methods in the idea tree. There are many different locations of interest found around the Frostland, such as harvesting areas, which can be differentiated by icons. For example, we have areas from which you can transport people to your city, gather cores, or different sources of fuel. Outposts can also be discovered in the Frostland and act as a source of different resources, like coal or materials. Note that one outpost can be a source of one type of resource only. Outposts will eventually run out of available resources, and can also become disabled when a whiteout occurs. After researching the appropriate technology, outposts can be turned into permanent settlements. This allows us to build a furnace to sustain a small but stable population, which will provide a permanent output of resources. You can then further upgrade a settlement, which increases their output and makes them resistant to whiteouts. Harvesting areas don't need to be connected to the city. They just need Frostland teams to operate them to start providing resources. Contrary to harvesting areas, to get an outpost running, you must first construct a connection with the city. The most basic way of connecting outposts are trails, available by default. Later in the game, you may research skyways, which increase the efficiency of outposts connected by them. To start building a trail, click the Trails construction button. Trails are built in sections. While the construction of each trail has a fixed Frostland team's requirement, each section will increase the cost of building the trail. After doing so, the outpost will automatically turn on and begin extracting resources if you have enough Frostland teams to fulfill its requirements. While outposts and settlements are a source of one resource type, there are also colonies that have various resource types for you to harvest. What sets apart these two from colonies is not only scale, but also way of handling. A colony is in many ways another city, with its own economy, logistics, and colonists. You might ask, governing one city is hard enough, why build a new one? Well, the easiest answer is that in time this becomes unavoidable. To establish one, you will need to relocate a part of your city's population, as well as allocate additional Frostland teams and cores. It's worth pointing out here that the colonies don't come with their own council halls. This means the struggle between communities and factions stays within the walls of your main city. Unlike the main city, the population of a colony cannot grow by itself. So, if you want your colony to develop, remember to send people there from the main city. To send resources, open the panel of a chosen colony and specify the direction and amount of specific resource shipments by adjusting the sliders. Sadly, a colony cannot survive on its own. If your city falls, the game is over. The same process does not go the other way though. A failing colony simply means that you will lose the colonists you have employed in its development. Make sure that your city can maintain itself even with reduced population after sending these colonists. If your capital city falls, you lose, regardless of whether your colonies stand or not. Well, we went through the basics of resource handling, the city's economy with all of its problems, managing relations with communities and factions, researching, constructing, lawmaking, and exploring the Frostland with the vast array of locations it has to offer. I hope this guide helps you venture into the world of Frostpunk 2 with ease. But remember, this game is difficult, and it is meant to be difficult. So don't be too hard on yourself when, and that's most likely a when, not an if, your city falls. It's all a part of the experience. That's all from me. Enjoy freezing your asses off in the Frostland. Bye!